Hey kids, welcome back to the library with Mr. Nick. It's wonderful to see you all again today. I know most of us already read this story earlier this week, but if you didn't, I thought I'd put it up here for you to see again. So last week we read The Big Orange Splot by Daniel Manus Pinkwater, and I have a little activity to go along with it. So enjoy. The Big Orange Splot by Daniel Manus Pinkwater. Mr. Plumbean lived on a street where all the houses were the same. He liked it that way. So did everyone else on Mr. Plumbean's street. "This is a neat street," they would say. But then, one day, a seagull flew over Mr. Plumbean's house, and he was carrying a can of bright orange paint. No one knows why. And he dropped the can. No one knows why. Right over Mr. Plumbean's house. And it made a big orange splot. "Ew, too bad," everybody said. "Mr. Plumbean will have to paint his house again." "I suppose I will," said Mr. Plumbean. But he didn't paint his house right away. He looked at the big orange splot for a long time and then went about his business. The neighbors got tired of seeing that big orange splot. So someone said, "Mr. Plumbean, I wish you'd get around to painting your house." "Okay," said Mr. Plumbean. So he got some blue paint and some white paint, and that night he got busy. He painted at night because it was cooler. When the paint was gone, the roof was blue and the walls were white, and the big orange splot was still there. Then he got more paint. He got red paint and yellow paint and green paint and purple paint. And in the morning, the other people came out of their houses, and their houses all were the same. But Mr. Plumbean's house was like a rainbow. It was like a jungle. It was like an explosion. There was the big orange splot, and there were little orange splots. There were stripes. There were pictures of elephants and lions and pretty girls and steam shovels. And the people said, "Oh, Plumbean! He's popped his cork. He's flipped his wig. He's blown his stack. And he's dropped his stopper." And they went away muttering. That day, Mr. Plumbean bought carpenter's tools and built a tower on the top of his roof and painted a clock on the tower. The next day, the people said, "Oh, Plumbean! He's gushed his mush. He's lost his marbles. He's slipped his hawser." And they decided they would pretend not to notice. That very night, Mr. Plumbean got a truck full of green things. He planted palm trees, baobabs, thorn bushes, onions, and frangipani. In the morning, he bought a hammock and an alligator. When the other people came out of their houses, they saw Mr. Plumbean swinging in a hammock between two palm trees. They saw an alligator lying in the grass. Mr. Plumbean was drinking lemonade. "Plumbean has gone too far. This used to be a neat street. Plumbean, what have you done to your house?" the people shouted at him. "Well, my house is me, and I am it. My house is where I like to be, and it looks like all of my dreams," said Mr. Plumbean. The people went away. They asked the man who lived next door to Mr. Plumbean to go and have a talk with him. "You tell him we all liked it here before he changed his house. Tell him that his house has to be the same as ours so we can have a neat street again." The man went to see Mr. Plumbean that evening. They sat under the palm trees, drinking lemonade and talking all night long. Early the next morning, the man went out to get lumber and rope and nails and paint. And when the people came out of their houses, they saw a red and yellow ship next door to the house of Mr. Plumbean. "What have you done to your house?" they shouted at the man. "My house is me, and I am it. My house is where I like to be, and it looks like all of my dreams," said the man, who had always loved ships and boats. "He's just like Plumbean. He's got bees in his bonnet, bats in his belfry, and knots in his noodle." Then, one by one, they went to see Mr. Plumbean late at night. They would sit under the palm trees, drink lemonade, and talk about their dreams. And whenever anybody visited Mr. Plumbean's house, the very next day, that person would set about changing their own house to fit their dreams. Whenever a stranger came to the street of Mr. Plumbean and his neighbors, the stranger would say, "Ugh, this is not a neat street." Then all the people would say, "Our street is us, and we are it. Our street is where we like to be, and it looks like all of our dreams." I like that story a lot. It reminds me that our community at Tops and in Seattle and in the world, we're all very different people. We look different and act different and sound different. And that's okay. And one of the first things I think about when I think about building community is learning to accept differences. Because it can be kind of hard. Someone looks different from you, or they say different things, or their voice is different, or their hair or skin look different. But that's okay. In fact, that's a good thing. So as we think about building community this month, let's celebrate our differences, because that's where we want to be, is our community. I'll see you next time. Remember, you make each day special just by being you.